90 minutes past 7 now. Mums-to-be who drink heavily can leave their children with physical, learning and behavioural problems. But now a legal case to decide if children who suffer as a result can get compensation will go to the Court of Appeal.
Women who are expecting a baby are advised to avoid alcohol completely during pregnancy. The NHS says those who do have a drink should have no more than 2 units a week. Breakfasts.
Dominic is almost 15, but when his biological mother was pregnant, she drank heavily. Avril adopted Dominic when he was 3.
Dominic was born with catastrophic medical damage to him. He's had so many operations we've lost count, and he doesn't enjoy the interference that he has to have because of his medical problems or the inability that he will have in the future to look after himself.
It is very, very hard. And I'm not being rude, I'm trying to be serious.
If drinking during a pregnancy can cause long-term damage to a child, then should those children receive financial compensation, as if they were victims of a crime? It's that question which lies at the heart of a long-running legal battle, one with widespread implications. One council, which can't be named for legal reasons, has argued that a 6-year-old girl with fetal alcohol syndrome should receive criminal compensation. Initially, a tribunal agreed, but that decision has since been overturned. The Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority argued that a crime wasn't committed because the girl hadn't been born when her mother drank. Legally, a judge concluded she was not a person, so a crime against her couldn't have taken place. The case is set for the Court of Appeal. Neil Sugarman is a solicitor representing the council and 80 other children similarly affected.
The adoptive parents are struggling to access specific therapies. It might be speech and language therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and the treatments that are necessary to help the children to deal with their brain damage. They have learning difficulties, emotional problems. It will open up routes to the parents to get treatment and also to provide them with some care and support.
It's estimated that at least 7,000 babies born in the UK each year suffer long-term health problems because their mothers drank excessively whilst pregnant. Lack of awareness concerns specialist Dr. Raja Mukherjee, but so too does the involvement of lawyers.
I understand where the families are coming from in terms of them wanting help, but this is really going to be those people who are most heavily drinking. I, as a doctor, would like to help them to try and prevent harm rather than trying to criminalise it, because I don't think we're going to help people by trying to criminalise things.
What's that?
Avril is following the case closely. Like the 6-year-old girl in question, Dominic, she believes, was also the victim of a crime.
The compensation should be relevant to how much care he will need, and it will be a lifetime. You will never get better from fetal alcohol syndrome.
As arguments over compensation continue, Dominic, at least, enjoys a loving home with loving parents. Priceless in every sense. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
Neil Sugarman is a solicitor representing a local authority arguing a 6-year-old girl with fetal alcohol syndrome is a victim of crime and is entitled to compensation. Susan Fleischer set up the National Organisation for Fetal Alcohol Syndrome. They both join us now. Neil, if I could start with you. There's been a recent change to this story, hasn't there? You now can take this to the Court of Appeal. Just explain what that means.
Well, last week we were given permission to take the case to the Court of Appeal because the previous case, it had been through 2 procedures. It had been to an appeal where the appeal tribunal decided that this was a crime for the purposes of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Scheme. The Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority that run the scheme disagreed with that decision and challenged to another tribunal. That tribunal disagreed with the first tribunal for the purposes of the scheme. So we're now taking the case to the Court of Appeal to ask the Court of Appeal to look at it again.
And it hinges now, as I understand it, on the issue of whether the child is a person before they're born.
Yes, that's one of the legal arguments in the case. It's a question of whether or not one can commit a crime against a fetus. Our case is based on some decided criminal law, and in particular a case where a pregnant woman was stabbed. She was badly injured, she survived, but her child survived and was born, but died shortly afterwards. And in that case, there was a conviction for manslaughter against the perpetrator. That's the basis of our appeal.
Susan, you were just explaining to us a moment ago your personal interest, which is you adopted a child.
Yes, my daughter has this condition.
Okay, well, just tell us a little bit about that. I mean,
okay. It depends, because every child is different. It depends what brain cells alcohol kills. At every stage in pregnancy, different things are developing. So they can have physical disabilities, learning disabilities, and the list is huge.
And we saw Dominic in the report as well there. So clearly the problems are manifest, and the adopters in your case you take on have costs. Now, what is it you seek? Is it to stop people drinking during pregnancy? Because ultimately that's the ultimate goal, I suppose, isn't it? But the practical issues you face day by day.
There are two goals. One, obviously, we're thrilled that Neil Sugarman has brought this to the fore, and you are showing people and telling people about the condition. Then many women will avoid alcohol, and their partners won't encourage them to drink during pregnancy. So prevention, and we have a long list of programs to support people, educate schools. Then the other side of our job is to support all the people living with this, and we have over 1,000 families around the UK that we support.
People at home have been in touch with us already this morning, and Neil, I want to put this point to you. Jo has written in, she says, alcoholism is an illness, not a crime. Should mums be sued for having children when there is a known hereditary disease, for example?
Well, I need to make it clear, first of all, this isn't about suing women. This is a state scheme, criminal injuries compensation scheme. There's no question of suing the women concerned, and whether women would ever be prosecuted is a moot point. I don't think they will. I don't think the Crown prosecutors will bring prosecutions. This is about securing much needed compensation for these children to give them access to everything that they need and to improve the quality of their lives. That they are unfortunate enough to be born damaged with very difficult lives ahead of them, and this is to help them through the rest of their lives.
Susan, just a very quick thought. What assistance is available as it stands now, outside of the possibility of compensation?
There's obviously all kinds of programs if they have learning difficulties, special schools, the list is huge.
Social services.
Yeah, there's social services, there's medical costs. My daughter's had quite a few operations, so there's all kinds of things that need support. But then there's also emotional support and support groups and other families, so people aren't isolated, and they can get, and behavior and support from other people in this situation is very effective.
It's prompted a lot of interest from our viewers this morning, so we'll try and reflect those. I know you're going to come back to and talk to us in an hour's time, so we'll talk again then. For the moment, thank you.
Now it's time to get the news, travel and weather where you are this morning.